The problem he struggles with today, along with hundreds of thousands of youngsters in Greece, is unemployment. But this is a problem he can't solve alone.
Είμαι 28 χρονών. 23.
Είμαι 25.
Δεν δουλεύω. Είμαι άνεργος.
Αν δεν βρω δουλειά στους επόμενους μήνες, σκέφτομαι να φύγω στο εξωτερικό.
The unemployment rate in Greece is the highest in Europe and reaches 52% among young people with graduate and postgraduate education. More and more of them are seeking work abroad. If things don't change, by 2020 Greece will face a talent deficit. Still, 1/3 of companies in Greece say they can't find employees with the right qualifications.
Θα ήθελα κατά κάποιο τρόπο να μάθω τι είναι αυτό που ζητούν οι εργοδότες σήμερα.
Προσέλαβαν κάποιον που είχε περισσότερη προϋπηρεσία από μένα.
As it appears, internship increases the chance of someone finding work by 60% within the first 6 months of graduation. The question is, how do you bridge the gap between young graduates and the companies? This is where the World Economic Forum Global Shapers Athens Hub comes in. The World Economic Forum Global Shapers community is a network of hubs developed and led by young people who are exceptional in their potential, their achievements, and their drive to make a contribution to their communities.
Αυτό που βρίσκουμε στην Ελλάδα, την έννοια του φιλότιμου στον average εργαζόμενο, είναι κάτι που το συναντάς πολύ σπάνια στο εξωτερικό.
Υπάρχουν πάρα πολλοί οι οποίοι δεν έχουν βρει δουλειά και προσπαθούμε να καταλάβουμε λίγο τι φταίει.
Κάθε εταιρεία να αντιληφθεί τον ιστορικό χρόνο τον οποίο βρισκόμαστε, να σκεφτούν μακροπρόθεσμα.
Αποφασίσαμε σε αυτό το project, το οποίο το πιστεύουμε όλοι πάρα πολύ.
And before their thoughts even became a reality, 2 critical partners joined in to provide full support: the Coca-Cola Company and the Hellenic Initiative.
Χειρίζεστε ανθρώπους κάθε μέρα, όλοι εσείς που τα ακούτε αυτό που λέμε σήμερα, και νομίζω ότι με το να μπείτε μπροστά, να σηκωθείτε και να πείτε και εγώ θα υποστηρίξω αυτό με 1, 2, 3, 13 θέσεις εργασίας, θα κάνετε κάτι το οποίο αργότερα νομίζω θα σας τιμά.
What they ended up with is the ReGeneration project, a differentiated internship program addressed toward talented young graduates from all areas of expertise, designed to provide them with new skills and to help them jumpstart their career. At the same time, companies investing in young people today secure their growth and business sustainability tomorrow.
Είναι πραγματικά μια ευκαιρία να αλλάξουμε την αντίληψη που υπάρχει στην έννοια της πρακτικής άσκησης στην Ελλάδα.
Μου δίνει ελπίδα και πιστεύω ότι πραγματικά μπορούν να αλλάξουν τα πράγματα στην Ελλάδα.
The basic features of the ReGeneration project are the provision of paid internships for 6 months, intensive specialized learning and development training, and mentoring from established professionals in the Greek business world so that they produce work that matters. The project also involves voluntary work on behalf of the participants at non-government organizations as a way of giving back to the community. To date, 23 partners and 120 volunteers have offered 6,000 hours of work and 670,000 euros worth of services pro bono. With all this support, the response has exceeded expectations. 2,800 applications for 16 different job families, leading to 60 hired interns to date from 24 hiring companies. So far so good, but an engineer like Spiros knows that in order to generate growth in Greece, what is needed is scale. And we agree. The challenge is to achieve 2,000 internship positions over the next 4 years. We can't do it alone, but we can make it happen together. Here. Now.
So guys, that was actually the promo video of the class 2013-2014. That was the first class. Yemi, you have played it in the forum in Istanbul, if you remember. The reason why we played that now was first, to get an idea of the background and the rationale. Second, as you are watching the next videos, to understand the evolution of the numbers. And later on, over discussions, we will showcase where we stand at the moment in terms of headcounts and all. So we can watch the next one. It's going to be for the next cycle, like 2016, the cycle we just concluded.
Greece, in the deepest socio-economic crisis of its modern history, facing sharp GDP decline, increasing youth unemployment, alarming brain drain, and the Grexit threat. When you're a recent graduate, looking for a job in this environment is like walking through a jungle. But in 2014, the Global Shapers Athens Hub, an initiative of the World Economic Forum, took action and launched an innovative internship program that started creating something that youth in Greece are thirsty for: opportunities in Greece. The Global Shapers creatively named the program ReGeneration, a holistic program that offers a 6-month paid internship in selected companies in Greece, up to 60 hours of training on business and soft skills, a focus on coaching, and up to 50 hours of voluntary work on NGOs. Something new, something bold, something visionary. And how do we measure the impact of ReGeneration? The easy way? Simple but powerful numbers. 2,800 applications, 55 positions, 21 hiring companies. The better way? Authentic voices.
Μέσα από το ReGeneration ξεκίνησα την πρακτική μου στη MetLife, στο τμήμα των ομαδικών πωλήσεων. Αμέσως κατάλαβα πως πλέον τα πράγματα σε μια πολυεθνική είναι αρκετά διαφορετικά. Μαθαίνεις να βγάζεις περισσότερη δουλειά σε λιγότερο χρόνο, να έχεις περισσότερες απαιτήσεις από τον ίδιο στον εαυτό, να έχουν οι άλλοι περισσότερες απαιτήσεις από εσένα και να ανεβάζεις τους στόχους σου συνέχεια. Βλέποντας τις ευκαιρίες που έχω για να εξελιχθώ και το πόσο μπορείς να ανεβάζεις τους στόχους σου κάθε φορά, συνειδητοποιώ πως όλο αυτό σου κρατάει το ενδιαφέρον αμύωτο.
Το ReGeneration μου έδωσε την ευκαιρία να εργαστώ σε μία από τις μεγαλύτερες εταιρείες στον χώρο του φαρμάκου. Συνάντησα ένα περιβάλλον άψογου επαγγελματισμού και συναδελφικότητας. Αρχικά εκπαιδεύτηκα σε ένα κλάδο τον οποίο δεν γνώριζα μέχρι τότε και στη συνέχεια μου δόθηκαν κέρυες αρμοδιότητες και ευθύνες. Και όλα αυτά χάρη στο ReGeneration.
The best way. 78% of interns have had their contracts extended for 6 months to 1 year, putting some order into the chaos of the jungle. As with all great achievements in nature, ReGeneration is a multi-stakeholder effort, supported by tens of volunteers and partners and 2 key sponsors. And together, the ReGeneration team brings to life one more of nature's valuable lessons. The harder something struggles, the stronger it becomes. In 2015, 4,250 unique applications, 220 available positions, 68 hiring companies. Against all odds, the Global Shapers Athens Hub and its partners continue providing the one thing the Greek youth needs more than ever before: opportunities. ReGeneration, Global Shapers Athens Hub, an initiative by the World Economic Forum with the kind support of the Coca-Cola Company and the Hellenic Initiative.
All right. 2 final ones. Footage we took from the training of the interns last year and this year. They're going to be really brief ones.
Ένα μεγάλο καλώς ήρθατε.
Το επιχειρήν για να πάει μπροστά χρειάζεται και το φαν, χρειάζεται και το να περνάμε καλά.
Μιλάμε για ένα πολύ ολοκληρωμένο πρόγραμμα.
Γι' αυτό ψάχνουμε να βρούμε τις ευκαιρίες μας στην κρίση. Όποιος ψάχνει, βρίσκει. Η πρόκληση είναι να ισορροπήσουμε την ουσία με το πραγματικά να περνάμε καλά και να είμαστε δημιουργικοί.
Δεν το περίμενα τόσο εντυπωσιακό, μπορώ να πω.
Αυτό το διήμερο νομίζω ότι έχω μάθει πάρα πολλά.
Μιλάμε με άτομα τα οποία βρίσκονται ακριβώς στην ίδια θέση με εμάς.
Τέλειο, πάρα πολύ ενέργεια.
Και νομίζω ότι είναι μια εμπειρία που πρέπει να τη ζήσουν όλοι.
And the next one, please. And the last one.
ReGeneration μέχρι τώρα μου φαίνεται εκπληκτική. Είναι κάτι πολύ διαφορετικό για τα δεδομένα της Ελλάδας. Νομίζω δεν έχει ξαναγίνει.
Είναι μια πρωτοποριακή διαδικασία και ελπιδοφόρα.
Είναι μια ευκαιρία για μας που δεν είχαμε καμία σύνδεση με την αγορά εργασίας και ήμασταν καθαρά σε θεωρητικό επίπεδο σπουδών. Να πάρουμε διαφορετικά ερεθίσματα.
Πάρα πολύ καλή πρωτοβουλία. Δίνει τη δυνατότητα σε παιδιά που δεν είχαν τους διάβλους που τους δίνονται μέσω του ReGeneration να κάνουν μια πρακτική άσκηση.
Μαθαίνουμε πράγματα, ακούμε ανθρώπους οι οποίοι έχουν περάσει από την δικιά μας ηλικία, έχουν τις εμπειρίες αυτές και μπορούν να μας καθοδηγήσουν και να μας δώσουν κίνητρα.
Μαθαίνουμε πάρα πολλά πράγματα και ακούμε ωραίες ιστορίες από ανθρώπους που μας εμπνέουν.
Είμαι πάρα πολύ ευχαριστημένη.
Okay, with no further ado, I'll start with the ladies. Irene, Corantis from Coca. I can give her. Okay.
Hi. Okay, this works. I'm delighted to be here. I think again, so I've been seeing some familiar faces. I'm super happy. I've been with Coca for the last 8 years in various positions of marketing. Currently, I'm leading the sparkling team on content development. So basically, that's advertising in very sophisticated words. And I'm excellently working with the lovely gentleman here, hoping to have you on board very soon to bring this project to life.
Hi to all, my name is Alex Fourlis. Just to make the connection, I had a similar position like you do 20 years ago. I was working for an international student organization. I was finishing my studies, and we were looking what to do with my friends in order to find a work, and we decided to start a company that will find work to students, our friends. And this company exists 20 years later. We grew it, we sold it, we're still working for it. I liked the project since the very beginning. I got, I think, self-invited as a sponsor the first time, donating some of the communication part of it. And I keep self-inviting myself until the point we are reaching to the point that we will become a full partner and sponsor to the program. Thank you.
Hi, I'm also very glad to be here with you, and to start with, because I'm 38 years old, and being with you, I feel at least 10 years younger right now. And I'm the program director of the Hellenic initiative. We are one of the main supporters of this program. To use Jan's introduction, I met Panos a couple of years ago. He didn't ask for a selfie. He didn't ask for a job, but he asked for money, and I'm very proud, and I'm very, yeah. I mean, it worked. It worked. I mean, sometimes you should ask for money as well. And I'm very proud that he did so, and you all see the videos, and we can discuss why I feel this pride inside me. Being at the Hellenic initiative, it's very important to be supporters of such an incredible program, the best of its kind in Greece at least. And I'm very grateful that we have such a great team with such a great idea that we are supporters of it. Thank you so much.
All right, so we're going to open it up for questions. You guys keep asking us since Friday, actually, so now is the right time. We have microphones in the room, so hit us.
My name is Mirwes from Amsterdam Hub. I have 2 questions. First of all, what is your plan for scaling up this project? And secondly, I think now you have sponsors. How do you want to finance this in the future?
Great question. So back in the days, and you might recall from the video, the initial vision was to create 2,000 internship positions over the course of 5 years. Obviously, since then, a lot of things has changed, and Greece got into a deep mess. So for the vision to be inspiring, it also needs to be realistic. So we are currently in the process of readjusting and recalibrating. Still, we feel that generating approximately 200 positions per year, it's doable, and we can make it happen. But this is only one small part of the vision. for us, and Irene also can comment on that, improving employability in the country is the big picture. So it's not only the 200 positions that created year in, year out, it's how many people you engage, how many people you train, and at the end of the day, what the overall output in the society is, not in strictly economic terms. I'll put a pause to hand to Irene, and then I will return for the second part.
I think that's, your question is what keeps us up at night, okay, just to be very clear. This program has an impact that goes beyond just the number of positions that we open and close, so in the sense of hired people. And there are success factors that for us are really crucial. One of them is how many of these kids actually keep a full-time job after the end of the traineeship. Just giving them 6 months is one thing, but actually giving them the tools to find a full-time job afterwards is really what gets our hearts beating. That's one. The second thing, and I think Jan mentioned it beautifully this morning, we know that a lack of self-awareness is a big thing. So a big part of this program has to do with providing these young kids with a lot of training that helps you understand who you are, what you do good in, what you're not that good in. How can I find a place for myself in the company that I go to? And that helps to build this self-awareness. So it makes you become, at the end, exactly what you said, more employable. So there's a rounded objective in this that goes beyond just the number of internships open, which of course is our key metric in the end. So this is definitely something that I would open also to all of you, because you are in this target group, and if you can even think about ways that we could make this better, we would be more than happy to hear your thoughts as well.
On your second point, Alex, you want to comment? Okay. Better now.
Before I get to the money. All right. This is my business. I won't answer directly, but I will answer how I view it a little bit from the outside. I mean, recruitment, my business. So what I'm saying is that it's a bit early to go on and say to somebody, pay for this service. But if I had a recruitment agency that had an 85% success rate in terms of placing people that stay on in these companies and grow, because this is a junior entry position, I believe this is a service that you can charge for. So it's very early. I don't think you can really use these numbers because still are small to be able to justify it. But even when I think it as a business sense, this is a service that, if it continues to have this type of success in terms of placement, that you could actually ask for a financial contribution for the companies that are taking the people. And the important thing is that this will come up with the scaling of the numbers. Because when you have enough people and companies in Greece realize that this is a valuable source for talented young people, then they will be able to contribute to it as well. Just a matter of creating this first example and be able to capitalize on it.
On financing, so my favorite question. So this is a typical fundraising exercise. We've seen since the very first day of the program that the critical factor of success is trust. So we tried very hard not to overpromise to sponsors and partners in fears of under-delivering. So we were pretty moderate on what we were promising, but we stayed true to our mission and to our values. That was the key thing. So we managed to build trust with key stakeholders, and then you had economies of scale kicking in. Obviously, to fuel growth, you need more resources. Easy answer could be you ask more money for existing sponsors. That's one. Mike is not going to like it. Second is you diversify. So we are currently in the process of reaching out and being in a dialogue with other key foundations in Greece that they can support. At the end of the day, we could also reach out to private sector, but at the moment, Regen is a non-profit. It's not a social enterprise.
So we are still operating by typical rules of engagement. And future will tell. But it's work in progress, it's trial and error, you can't tell. I mean, you try things, but trust is critical. You cannot disrupt trust because then the whole program is gone.
Yeah, I would agree with everyone. I think what's very important here is, as Panos said, trust, is belief, is what Jan said yesterday as well, as having a dream, not having a plan in the beginning. And we were fortunate enough to, we had some great preachers, Panos, Nikos, the whole of Coca-Cola team, who really came up to us and said, guys, this is the problem. We need to do something. Let's try and find a solution for it. And in the beginning, you start thinking and saying, as Ioanna said, I'm in a comfort zone here. 60% of youth unemployment, Greece, this, that, doesn't really match up. But, at the end, if you don't try it, if you don't produce a result, then, what are you doing in this country? How are you shaping, to use your words, a change? How do you impose something which is of real impact? And it started small. We started, with some worshippers of this religion, as people that believed, people who were crazy enough to believe in this idea. And suddenly, as the program actually expanded, and we saw, the success of it, I mean, I think one of the most important things is that 87% of the people who were actually, at one point of their lives, interns of this program are now, they have a full-time job with one of these companies in Greece with a 6%.
Sorry, Mike, a comment. As Mike is outlining some of the key metrics of the program, we have put on this main screen the most updated infographic with all the comps since our inception. So as we continue to discuss, you can go through the infographic as well.
Yeah, I mean, all the metrics and everything is here, and, I'm also the program director, and I know these numbers, and this is part of my job. But if there is one thing you need to take back in your home, is this is a super cool project, and let's do something similar in our country. And I think that's something you should be thinking about. I mean, you seem like a great team. I'm sure you're here not just to listen to what we have to say. I mean, right next to me is a glass of water. It's not the holy grail of knowledge. So being senior compared to the others in this room is good enough. But I'm really interested to find out, suggestions, ideas, thoughts, similar examples that you have witnessed in your own countries as well.
Thank you. Akil from Munich Hub. I also have two questions, one provocative for the Coca and the Karriera representative and one for you. First of all, my question is, I see lots of big multinational companies up there, and probably they know that there's a business case behind paid internships. Why did it need somebody like the Global Shapers to come in to pitch that project? Why didn't it just already exist there? And the second question to you would be, what was actually your pitch to go to the companies and tell them you need to make a paid internship and these people will stay for you?
Okay, that's a great question. Both of them, actually. So my pitch changed over the course of the years, obviously. It was a different one when we had no brand, no background, no team, frankly. It was mostly visionary. And again, it had to do with trust and people. The strategy we employed was building what we call ambassadors of the program, mostly out of our personal networks. There are 5 or 6 people that we got together into a room, and we agreed to reach out to another 5 or 6 people and talk them into Regen. So obviously, we customized for big multinationals. CSR was a catch. For smaller companies, small medium enterprises, having access to a super sexy talent pool was another catch. But at the end of the day, especially during the first 2 years, what mattered the most was the personal connection we have developed with the decision makers and the trust that has been established, and also their belief to the cause. So Nikos, who is sitting right there, was determinantal, because when Nikos picks up the phone, people listen what he has to say. So having 2 or 3 key stakeholders really enable you to reach out more effectively. But again, it's what Jan said, every no is a leverage to a yes. Okay, so during the first 2 years, we probably had like 200, 300 meetings. 80% of them was a no. Okay, but we kept going because at the end of the day, you need to be for that kind of project, which is like SEALs team. Okay, you take no prisoners, so you need to be self-motivated. If you expect to get motivated for the results, then the project is done even before its official like kickoff. So that's the pitch strategy. Now, Irene.
So I'm thinking about how many no's we've heard, and we still hear. And just to build on that for 1 second, the interesting thing about a no is sometimes it's a no, but you can ask the person who says no to open a door that ends up to the yes. And I think this is where literally the people working on this changed our philosophy to, okay, even if you can't give us an intern on your company, talk to your suppliers, talk to your customers, open us other doors. And that's how we turn no's into yeses. So just to close that one. Now, in terms of what's in it for specifically the multinational companies, and Panos already touched on the obvious one, which is CSR. And in a period like the one that we're living in Greece, CSR is maybe even more important than when the times are good. But there's a bigger, for me, factor, which is this golden triangle has come up with a solution that does not exist in the market right now. There are many, and I think, Alex, you're the perfect testament to this. There are many traineeship programs out there, paid, non-paid. There's a bunch of things happening. But there is no other program out there that is focused on development. So we take care as a program of equipping these kids with feedback, with ways to give feedback, how to present yourself, how to run a meeting, things that they do not learn in college. Sadly or not, it is the reality. And there is also, I think, a level of authenticity to this program that doesn't exist in the rest, which means it has a value of giving back to the community that the 3 sponsors, and now hopefully the 4th, we share, which is we're only as good as the communities in which we operate. So it is in everyone's interest, and it becomes a win-win situation at the end if we all help our community become better. This is a very strong argument right now in Greece. It's not it's good for, it's not just it's good for business, it's really good for the country, and it's good to help us believe that there's a better future out there. And it's very easy to get lost in this pessimistic feeling. And then you get, a team like this. Panos, not to say anything, but he breathes regeneration from the minute he wakes up till the, do you ever sleep, actually? I'm not even sure. Occasionally. So this is, regen, regen, regen. This is contagious. You get people to really believe in it.
So 2 things. Of course, there are multinational companies, and in this list, even companies in this list that were always doing graduate trainee schemes in Greece and are still doing it. And they're doing it sometimes in parallel with ReGeneration as well. The one thing you have to keep in mind is that as soon as the crisis hit in Greece, the first thing that happened is freeze hire. The second thing that happens is 0 budget on training. And the third thing that happens is probably a slash advertising, marketing, or marketing expansion, or whatever, in most of these companies. So the opportunities were a lot less, and I'm saying this because we publish a book that captures this every year, the last 17 years. They got a lot less. And the important thing that ReGeneration brings to the table is, apart from all the ones that have already been mentioned, is that I did a speech in an HR conference 4 years ago, and it was about youth unemployment. And the one thing I said, oh, come on, like, we have 300 HR directors. If each company makes one initiative to get 5, 10 people, young people, to train them and give them the skills that the market really needs, we will reach a huge scale. Okay? I got standing ovation. I got the highest rating in this conference among professional speakers. It was great. Nothing happened afterwards. And the reason was to be honest, at this point, the HR directors didn't even have the decision-making power to do something like this, and they didn't have the money to do something like this. So the thing that ReGeneration brought to this point, this table in Greece, is that it got the money from the only other source that was available, besides the government, who's doing really silly things in this region. it got the money, it got the decision makers that could offer these opportunities. And it has a plan to scale it up. Because many times in Greece we do something, it's great, it's for 5, 10 people. My company does 10 things like that, but nothing that's really can have the opportunity to grow and bring cooperation and with so many stakeholders and so many organizations working together for one goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all these, certainly matter, and when you go to the HR department of a company, you have to list all these things. But if I had to list one thing about this program or similar programs, is we're probably in the business of shaping a better society for all of us to live in. I mean, it's not an HR program. It's a program that affects the lives of everyone. And as Irene said, corporations have realized that, they cannot flourish if a society is going down. And I think this is the power. And if you speak about, Greece and all the things that have come to this country the last 7 years or so, you will read all the reports about, the agricultural sector, about the tourism, about shipping, about this, about that. But I think that the sector that really hurts this country is the sector of self-belief. And this is not something measured on a GDP or on a balance sheet. It's something that you somehow need to, to give birth to. You have to plant your seeds. And this is what we do as THI, supporting programs like ReGeneration. I mean, we have created these, 200 jobs, let's put it this way. 200 jobs will not, decrease the number of youth unemployment in Greece from 60 to 5%, let's say. And we're not stupid, we know that. But what is important is, can you actually create role models for others to imitate? Can, the HR guy who suddenly realizes that, if I do that, I'm actually giving a kid an opportunity. Is this something really more important than, just working for a company? And I think, if we all do something good, if we all believe to each other, if we all give opportunities to each other, I think at the end of the day, okay, we might make mistakes, we might have some silly ideas, but, we all have anyway. But at the end of the day, I think we will be able to create a better society for all of us to live in. And, I'm called the program director of the Hellenic Initiative, whatever that means. But, I have a 4-year-old daughter. And when I go back home, if I have to explain to someone what I'm doing, is I'm actually creating a better society for my daughter to live in, at least. And I think, with such a great team, we're doing our best. And also, to get out of the pitching and go back to the financing, I think the most important thing is to have a great team and a great idea. Then you will find the resources, or even without resources, you will make it happen. And I think that's a very strong message. Don't look at, foundations or corporations just for their pockets. Go there very strong, very committed, with a great idea, and one way or the other, you will win.
Guys, just a sec. As Jan is about to leave, I would like you to join me in giving him a standing ovation and thank him for being here.
Yeah. Don't give up.
Can I ask the question now?
I hope I didn't say anything bad about Windows or something.
Guys, we're going to allow 2 more questions. So one and another one, Katya, I'm sorry, and then we can recap when the program is done, okay?
Okay, hey, thank you. Maya from Warsaw Hub. I have a more technical question, maybe. We are in Warsaw making this project Mentors for Stunters. So this is for a program meant for young professionals. We have CEOs and MDs of big companies that mentor on one-on-one terms people like our age that are struggling in the job market. And we are at the verge of scaling up the project like yours, yes? And the question is, how do you recruit? What are the bases? What's the process, and what kind of people do you look for?
Sorry, recruit you mean for your team, for your project management team?
No, the candidates. The candidates that will benefit from the program.
Okay, I think Irene and Alex are the ones to address that.
Okay, so it's like a funnel, right? We start with a very wide application process just to get the basics out. Then they have to go through a short essay of why they want to join a program, testing English and that kind of thing. Then we have a series of online tests, which we're bringing an innovation this year, and we're very hopeful of its results, which is we're introducing gaming-based assessment, so a way to test personalities, verbal, numerical, diagrammatical skills, but through gaming, and kind of being also closer to this target group and making them really believe that we are a different program to the rest of them out there. And then there is a live assessment center, so interviews that take place face-to-face, where we have external recruiters, probably most, I'd say about 90% of the HR directors of the companies that actually are with us. We have headhunters, we have many, many people who help us assess. And the important thing here, and this is what I think we're really very proud of in the recruitment process, is we do not recruit for a position, we recruit for the program. So we're looking for a profile of people that we believe can make a difference in society, much like all of you. A more well-rounded profile, we're looking for people that have done something extra in their life other than just be super good in class, just to be clear. So people who will want to give back, people who can continue being the ambassadors of this program once they're out, and that can join our ranks. And I think one of the things that we're most proud of is that we as a team have actually recruited some of these interns to help us run the program on this side of the job, which is a testament to the quality of these kids. Does that help?
One thing to add.
One more question. So for the applicants, how many do you interview? What do you have per sense, for example?
Yeah.
So the stages, how many go to the
Yeah. So let's say this year we started with about 6,500 applicants in general. That led to about 1,051, not about, so 1,051 that actually passed the tests, and about 300, I'd say 30 or 340 that passed to the live assessment center.
And who does the first assessment? People from the hub or people from these IT companies? I mean, how many people are there?
It was a team of 7 recruiters. So in part, up to now, it was a part of our, let's say, of contribution, like our entire, let's say, team of recruiters in the company spent, like, I think, Christmas week. I had to give a lot of back for that, to do this screening. It's a demanding process, and of course you need partners external to do it. Like, if you see the companies that are helping it, not just Karriera, they are really the best in their field in Greece, and the tests, the recruiters, everybody are people that are very professional in this.
Yeah. And we also used actually previous classes of interns to interview the new classes of interns. So together with more experienced HR directors.
It's some technology. When you have 6,000 applicants, it's not something that can be done on paper.
And guys, do not underestimate expertise. So good intentions alone won't make the cut. So obviously, to your question, we are not capable of screening 7,000 applications. So we brought in the experts, but what I'm mostly proud of in the selection process is the boot camp, the final round, when we bring under one roof more than 80 HR directors and managers from across the industry. Those people are volunteering their time. So you need to go out there and convince them. Of course, we'll pay some money on the side for technology and the like, but the core team are there pro bono. So here is where you come in and what you need to do to convince them. Fatima.
Sorry, yeah, my question. Yeah, can I ask the final one?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Katerina Roshina, Kharkiv Hub, Ukraine. So I have one question and also maybe one idea for you for future, because our hub, so we started originally from a professional orientation camp, and this is for school students, actually helping them before choosing some university, just learn about themselves, understand themselves, and think about future career, and actually making choice about their higher education. So this is like a 3-day seminar, 3-day camp during holidays, and where they participate in different trainings and also pass different tests, work with coaches, with psychologists, and the interesting part of that camp as well, also attending, visiting different companies. By the way, our current curator of Kharkiv Hub, so we found her because she was one of the partners. We visited her company, Global English, and so our participants, they visit those companies and they speak to directors or HR managers or to the team and just to try and understand the specifics of those companies. So we started from this camp, and maybe this would be an idea for you for future, because you don't have to pay for internship. You will have to find a good team of psychologists, trainers, or HR specialists who will be working with these school students. You can also work with parents or school psychologists. And the question, so that was the idea for future, and the question is, can you maybe tell a bit more about the training? Because I understand that you provide internship, you work hard with like job providers, but also what you partially mentioned what you do during training, but can you be more specific? Thank you.
You and Alex.
For the training.
Okay, so this is the fun part of our job. So the training is split actually in two parts. There's one part that they all do together before they even start working, things that we consider are important for them to learn. So it's very practical things, starting from who they are. So we use some HR tools like DISC or tools like this to really understand, where am I strong? Where am I good at? What should I be careful with? Very practical things like how to run a meeting. And it may sound to people that already work like it's an obvious thing, but setting objectives at the beginning of the meeting, why we're doing it, who's there, who should be invited, how long should it be? How do you give feedback in a constructive way versus, I don't really like that. So this is the kind of thing that they really, really don't know how to do when they start. There's a lot that has to do with working in teams, but not in a traditional sense of team building, but rather of how do you how do you make your value appear? You have just 6 months, you're new, you don't know anything about this company. What are some of the questions that you should be asking? Who are some of the people that you should be talking to make sure that you are remembered at the end, right? So that the company does really want you to stay at the end. So it becomes very specific. And then as we go, we move forward, there are a lot of things like handling difficult conversations, which also they're not very familiar with. How do you receive feedback on top of giving it? There's a new module that we're trying to bring now to life, which is a very painful one on how to do good PowerPoint presentations, which is a little bit tricky because we don't really like PowerPoint presentations, but we have to do that. So this is a new one. And the last one that we're working on now to introduce in the next, that we started this round and we're working on more towards the next one, is one that's very close to at least Coke's heart, which is diversity and the role of women and how do women and men work together and how do we get the best out of them, and just raising the awareness behind gender diversity is a big one for us. So this is some of the new things that we're trying to incorporate. And we're very lucky to have an HR specialist from Coke together with hopefully you guys now working on always making the best of it. So it's a training process that is very dynamic and that changes from cycle to cycle.
Hi, I'm Fatima from the Muscat Hub in Oman. There's a handful of us who flew in from the Middle East to Athens for Shape Europe. So we actually have something like ReGeneration in Oman. It was actually launched by an ex-global shaper from my hub. It's called Jisr, which is the Arabic word for bridge. I guess the question that I would have is these 36 hiring companies who have signed up to deliver the program in a certain way, how do you make sure that they are delivering what they've promised to do in terms of intern development? And are there any consequences if they do break their promise at any point of the program?
So one comment from my side, and then I also, again, pass on Irene to speak on behalf of Coke as well. So the first question to ask is, what kind of hiring partners we want to have aboard? Okay. We are selective in terms of interns, but we are selective in terms of hiring partners as well. So we need to ensure that there is a values and mission alignment between the partners and the program. And to the vast majority of the hiring partners, we've seen that this is true. Like, we have 100% mission and values alignment. Then, if you ensure that, you don't really need to micromanage. We use some check and balances mechanisms, like we get real-time feedback both from the interns and their managers in the companies to make sure that things run smoothly. But for me, as a matter of strategy, the key thing to ensure is the values and mission alignment. That's the bigger the organization, you have many layers of decision making, and then you might have seen some discrepancies. But twice in the cycle, 3 times in the cycle, we cross-check both with the interns and their managers. We are getting feedback, and we intervene when necessary to make sure that the program runs smoothly. Obviously, we have discussed that, I think, a couple of years ago again in Istanbul. You cannot micromanage the companies. You cannot dictate, like, you should treat him like that. But if you ensure alignment, and then with feedback, you're on the right track.
We do a yearly survey, very big survey in universities, about where the people want to work. And they rate employers they want to work for, and they rate the opportunities that they're getting, and all these programs, stuff like that. I think a really big thing is that for the first time in all these type of programs, the trainee has a choice as well. He can reject the company, or he can get multiple offers. So I think there is also the fact that over time there is some type also feedback mechanism for companies. So the initial reaction, and I have seen some HR directors that participate in the ReGeneration saying, I don't understand why they reject my company, or they don't understand we're a great employer and they don't want to come, or they don't want the people that we want, they don't want to come to us. It's important to understand this also is a program that changes the mentality overall of the market. I think Greek employers overall should understand they're not like the rulers of the universe, which they feel the last years. And it's really interesting that ReGeneration has a brand name of its own now in our survey. Students recognize it as a program, and the companies that are participating, I cannot say we have enough statistical, but anecdotally I can tell you that they're rising up the ladder of preferred employers, the companies that are giving more and more internships. So I think over time this will also change things a lot.
You touched on one thing, just a practical matter on top of the feedback. There's one thing that differentiates us as well versus the other programs, and it's something very small but very big, which is that for a hiring company to participate, it needs to give us a job description. And this might seem like something very small, but the stereotype of an internship in Greece, and probably elsewhere as well, was you make copies, you bring coffee. The way to not have that was to actually force the hiring companies to say, this is what the intern will be doing for 6 months. This is going to be his reporting line, and this is going to be the measurable result we expect at the end. And the team that works on this, of course, they can't know exactly if they're telling the truth or not, but they can judge and they evaluate whether that description actually makes sense. So there has to be a job at the end. So for a company that does all this effort and trusts us along the way and participates in the hiring process, they tend to be really on board. And then there are the feedbacks just to make sure that it's respected. But it helps a lot.
And one final point on that one, as you are reading this question, that I would love to address. On Alex's point, what Regen created was actually a sub-market. Okay, so when you are creating a market, you have forces of competition kicking in. So competition works both ways, companies level and interns level. So Alex pinpointed on the companies level competition because we have a rule that they cannot play with the benefits. So for the first 6 months, everyone is selecting on a base salary that the program dictates. So they cannot bid for an applicant. So having this kind of competition ensures that from their side, they need to set a track record of being fair and loyal to their interns. Okay? Yeah. We'll keep that for take on that. We got a great question on WhatsApp. Let's leave it for the end. I will take one more. Okay, you, and then we'll address. Yeah.
Can we? Because I have a mic already. My question is very simple and straightforward. That is from Vilnius Hub. I don't see public sector companies on the list. Maybe I'm bad with names. Why are there no public sector companies? The reason I'm asking because we have similar government program in Lithuania where you know, the young guys are going into public sector only to change the country and all that stuff. And considering the Greek situation, you should be interested in that as well.
Okay.
Very good. Very good.
I've been told not to speak politics. I tend to be harsh. So first of all, in terms of scope, this program, Mike briefly spoke about it in the beginning, is not a vehicle to address youth unemployment. Okay? Volume is not our main driver. We wanted to give a signal to the market, a role model, to fight brain drain as possible, so the best people that can get jobs abroad, to keep them here and add value in the country. And via the training module, to address a little bit the skills mismatch, not only for the shortlisted applicants, but for the whole class. Government programs. Government programs, there is a technical element, not many people know. Government programs that are subsidized by EU programs mostly, they are very strict in terms of requirements, in a funny way. Very strict, which practically means very broad. So we have a scope, narrow scope of having people up to 30 years old, for example. We think that if you are more than over 30 years old, you are not a suitable intern. You should look for something else. Exactly because the scope is different, the tools they are using are different, and the requirements are different. So what we are trying to fix here, it's completely different again. We are aligned in terms of the overall mission with those programs, but we are not aligned in terms of the way they do it.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt here because I see that you're going into the explanations and the reasons and the, I'm sorry to say this word, excuses why you don't have a government sector in there. But it sounds like you're the one who is setting the rules. So you should be knocking on the government door and say, we can give you 10 bright guys to do an amazing stuff. And there probably is a reason the government doesn't want it, not the bureaucratic reasons.
I'm going to be very transparent. Government jobs for us at the first 2 or 3 years of the program was not a priority. We don't feel that the added value to the program and to the interns would be as expected with the private sector. And because of all the political volatility, don't forget we have elections every other 6 months in this country, it's even very challenging to initiate a dialogue with the government. So we focus, in principle, on what we can influence. And we can influence, at this stage, not all, but part of the private sector. Hopefully, by scaling the program, we'll have the leverage to speak to the government and see if we can do something broader. But for us, as we are developing the brand of the program, those 2 or 3 years, the government was not a priority. And I don't think it's going to be the next 1 or 2 cycles.
Mike, and THI being very apolitical and very neutral, I mean, what we really care is how we can get this thing larger and how we can get partners that understand the value of this program and can be of some, value to expand that program. So whether it's a Greek government, Vatican City, whoever you name it, he's more than welcome to come and learn from what we're doing and be part of the process. I think what we're trying to do here is trying to set the stage. And this is a very good question because from the foundation's point of view, you start with an idea, you do the monitoring, and then you have some results, and hopefully you end up, trying to push towards an advocacy kind of role and saying, guys, we created this is a great program, these are the results, why don't you do something similar? Right now, though, we're very much focused on trying to set this stage in a proper way and to expand with our own resources, and whoever wants to contribute is more than welcomed.
Hello, my name is Shaya from Abu Dhabi. First, I'd like to commend you. I think you've done a fantastic job over the past 2-3 years because as Abu Dhabi, we also have a similar program called Employment and Employability and Entrepreneurship Program. And it's been really difficult getting, the demand is there, right? But also having the resources and the support and funding to really get this going. We have a really large unemployment issue as well. I've just, sort of posted my comments in the WhatsApp group, but I first want to share some ideas before I go into the questions. We've been talking a lot about early intervention as a hub. Why don't we start early? That takes minimum resources. There may be some child safety issues there, depending on the country or city. Start early as the age of maybe 14, 15, and this is what we're doing in Abuja Hub with Shape Up Mentoring. We're using this opportunity to pass on some of these skills, so confidence building, communication skills early on. So the 10 years when they get into the job market after if they do go to university, they already have some of these skills. So what you then need to supplement are then maybe some technical skills to then get into the labor market. But at least they could also find other routes from being entrepreneurs. So that's the first thing, maybe starting early as an early intervention process. The second thing is also, my question is, is there an age limit to this? And do you have criteria? Because if you're only looking at graduates or people with particular degree or certifications, then it means those that don't have that. And that leads to my second question, which I think some of my other fellows in here have been trying around the 96% of those that don't get on the program. What do you do with them? Because clearly, with the rigorous program and the new testing program, testing assessment that's going to be introduced, it means that some other people that have a different background and not as maybe half-fluent experience to those that competent would be further disadvantaged. And what do you plan to do with them? I suggested, perhaps why can't this be rolled out on an online program? If you have records of those training programs, you can have them online. People can sign up, just like another Coursera, program. That will be widespread, get obviously more target as well, and then you can focus again more thoroughly on the group which you do recruit. So, but I'd like to hear some, some ideas as well that you may have, or you may already be thinking about this as well.
You want me to take this? Okay, so let me get the first question first. So yes, there is an age limit, which is 29. And this is really because it is a traineeship. I think after a certain age, a traineeship doesn't make sense. There was a second question in there, which was the background. So this is open to anyone that has any form of degree, whether it's a junior degree, an associate degree, or any other kind of degree. And there are steps in the selection process that make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. So an engineer is not going through the same test or the same criteria as a lawyer. And this has been a learning curve for us as well, because we've had tests in the past where we just picked the top, and that was really unfair for some categories of people. So now we're making sure that lawyers are compared with lawyers, and engineers are compared with engineers, and the rest of them. So this is one thing. When it comes to what do we do with the rest of them, which is, I think this is where I, as Irene working for Coke, am very proud of this, and I'm sure that all of us share. For us, really the key here is not necessarily to bring down unemployment, because we do have our heads on our shoulders, but to help youth become more employable. What we've done to make sure that happens is that throughout every stage of the process, they get customized feedback. What that means is if you are one of those whose CV didn't make the cut, you will get a note on what is it in that CV that didn't work. Was it the way that it was formatted? Was it what was there? What was missing? What you could do, that part. If you didn't make the tests, you get a different set of feedback that says, if you didn't do well on your verbal, here are a couple of things that we suggest you do, and very specific action points. If you didn't do well in your diagrammatic test, etc. That means that about, I think this year it was over 6,000 people that got a customized report on how you can do better. This is the second part. The third part is, once you've passed the test, even if you don't get a placement within this cycle, we keep you in the database. And one of the changes we made this year compared to last is that we have a rolling hiring system, which means that at any point in the year, if a company knocks on our door, we have a pool of candidates that are ready. So it's not like, oh, I didn't get hired this time, that I'm completely done. You stay there. We make sure that those, what we call alumni, hired or non-hired, they keep coming to our events, even to the networking events. Yesterday's was one, so people came to Jan, so we still try to get a lot of that out there. And then there is a program we're opening now. Well, I think you're going to lead that from now on, but it is a career mentoring program. So there is an extra organization that we're working on in Greece right now to help give them extra coaching on how do I do better, how can I do more. This has coaching for interviews, it has coaching for recalls, it has a lot of that involved. So yes, and we are aware we're still getting to a very small amount of positions. This is our headache, I have to tell you. It is a big headache because a lot of that does not depend on us. A lot of that is having open positions and not having skills to fill those positions. So what we do in that case is we are actually creating training to fill that. Let me be very specific. We had about, I think, 35 or 36 positions last year coming from digital agencies that wanted SEO training, that wanted Google certification training, which our kids don't have. We went and partnered with Google and created a 3-day program, a training program, at the end of which they were certified. We took care of that, pro bono, of course. Google didn't charge anything. At the end, those 32 positions were filled. We wouldn't have been able to do that beforehand. We're looking now with Alex into a coding school. Same thing. We have a big, big issue with coders in Greece. We don't have any. I don't know if there are any in the room, but we don't have any, or at least we can't find them. So this is one of the extra ways that we're actually trying to build the skills so that the people who don't find a job now can continue finding them in the next cycle or the cycle after that. Same thing with tourism. I'm not sure what we're going to do with shipping, but we are trying to build that expertise also vertically. Is that?
Okay. I think we're kind of done for this session, but before we call it a day, you all guys saw the great numbers and the track record of the program. Disappeared. But I mean, you should never forget what was the first step, where you came from. So for us, when we began, it was like 5 people. 3 of them in the room. And I'm gonna do this in every single ReGen event because you should really not forget your roots. So there's one guy who sits here, and it's Nikos that spoke to you this morning. I was our co-founder, on top of being my mentor. And it's very critical when you are playing against all odds to know that your co-founder is not going to let you hanging. To know that worst comes to worst, you stick as a team. So for this trust and all the support since the day 1 of the program, all of us would be forever grateful.